nightclub over this weekend. More of Donald Trump going to golf courses on the taxpayer dime. But I want to talk about what went down before Donald Trump rushed out of the White House. It seems like he had yet another secret phone call with Putin, where Putin was demanding or asking Donald Trump to make sure that there would be a ceasefire in Moscow between Russia and Ukraine so that Putin can throw his Victory Day parade without worrying that Ukrainian drones would strike inside Moscow. For the past week, Zelensky has been saying that Putin wants this unilateral ceasefire without reciprocating to Ukraine. And Ukraine said earlier in the week that it may be open to a ceasefire if Putin would actually speak with Zelensky.
Today, the U.S. military fired on 2 Iranian-flagged oil tankers attempting to bypass the ongoing blockade. Yesterday, Thursday, May 7th, the U.S. struck Iranian ports at Qeshm and Bandar Abbas after 3 U.S. Navy destroyers came under coordinated Iranian missile, drone, and small boat attack. Trump called the strikes a love tap. Direct quote sourced through CBS News. Trump told reporters at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, direct quote sourced through CNN, "You won't have to know if there's no ceasefire. You'll just have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran." One big glow coming out of Iran, from the commander-in-chief about nuclear war to reporters. On the record, according to PBS News polling, direct quote sourced through PBS News, 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of how Trump is handling Iran. 6 in 10. The American public has rendered its verdict on Trump's signature foreign policy. Lloyd's of London is reporting that Iran has established what the shipping industry now calls the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, a new government agency demanding ships apply to transit the Strait of Hormuz with permission and tolls paid to Iranian authorities. Direct quote sourced through PBS News, citing Lloyd's List Intelligence, the authority is positioning itself as the only valid authority to grant permission to ships transiting the strait. Iran is now legally and operationally controlling shipping through one of the most important waterways on Earth, while Saudi Arabia 3 days ago refused to let the U.S. military use Prince Sultan Air Base. According to a Saudi official quoted by AP, direct quote sourced through PBS News, "We told them that we are not part of this and that they can't use our territories and bases for this." America's closest Gulf ally refused. Stephen Colbert is 12 days from his final Late Show broadcast. Jimmy Kimmel is under direct FCC threat over Disney's broadcast licenses. Letterman just called CBS, direct quote sourced through Variety.
He's fighting for his life here. He's fighting for his freedom here. These cases, these criminal cases, not the one in New York, not the civil one in New York.
That's just money.
That's just money. Well, that means a lot to him. These cases can put him to jail, put him in jail for the rest of his life, and I think probably will.
Trump will reportedly deliver. I'm sorry, it's hard to even read. Trump. Okay, let me read it with a straight face.
You can do
That's
it.
not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible.
You can just.
Trump will reportedly deliver part of his New York fraud closing arguments himself. Willie, my God, the gods, the cable news gods.
This will be the best closing argument
they
that anybody's
rained
ever
manna
given.
down from the heavens to all cable news executive producers wondering what they're going to do. Well, forget cable news, the late night comics, Willie. Oh, my God, late night comics are going to have a field day on this.
Well, you know, he does believe that he is his own best representation, that he alone can fix it. So I think he probably thinks he is so persuasive and so charming that if he got face to face with a jury, they would come around him, or he might just threaten them. He could go either
attorneys. And this is the hat George Conway gave me to give you, Joe. I feel bad for them as they watch the closing arguments on Thursday as Donald Trump delivers them. And by the way, we're reclaiming the red hat. You've made this one. Mine says know your value.
About it, or speak with the Ukrainians about it and agree to a ceasefire so there would stop being Russian attacks on civilians in Ukraine, which continued to kill civilians this past week. And Zelensky knew that Putin really wanted this parade, this Victory Day parade tomorrow more than anything, so Putin could act all big and strong. So there was a secret phone call apparently between Putin and Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump calling Zelensky, it's being reported or alleged, it's what we're hearing, and potentially Donald Trump begging Zelensky, can you please give Putin this 3-day ceasefire so he can have his parade? And Zelensky actually agreed to do it. But then Zelensky did an epic troll of how pathetic that made Donald Trump and Putin look. I'll show you what Zelensky did in a moment, but how we learned about all of this is that Russian presidential aide Yuri Yushakov announced through the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, this is what they posted. They go, we find Donald Trump's initiative concerning a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire on May 9th to 11th acceptable in order to conduct a 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner of war exchange. Such an initiative on the eve of Victory Day is welcome. And then so it was like, wait a minute. So did Donald Trump just speak with Putin? What the heck just happened? We knew previously in this week, this is why our reporting here on the Midas Touch Network, where we talk about things that aren't being reported, we get ahead of these stories, the spin and the propaganda. Remember when we previously reported earlier this week when Zelensky posted the following message? The Russians want Ukraine's permission to hold their parade so they can safely take to the square for an hour once a year and then go back to killing our people and waging war. The Russians are already talking about strikes after May 9th, a strange and certainly twisted logic from the Russian leadership. There are also messages from some states close to Russia that their representatives intend to be in Moscow. An odd desire at a time like this. We do not recommend
lying weasels. So today, I am going to walk you through every single piece of this. George Conway's 20-year war with Donald Trump, his role at the Lincoln Project, his column after column at The Atlantic and The Bulwark, his MSNBC commentary, his Midas Touch appearances, his George Conway Explains It All podcast with Sarah Longwell, his new run for Congress, plus everything that's happening this week, plus the entire late-night roster that is about to come together for Stephen Colbert's final episodes. Letterman, Kimmel, Myers, Fallon, John Oliver, Tom Hanks, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Pedro Pascal, all of them gathering on Colbert's stage in his last 12 days. Plus, what every late-night host has been saying about Trump in the last 7 days. By the end, you will see exactly why this is the most consequential week of any modern American presidency, and exactly why every single voice that refuses to bend matters more right now than at any point in living memory. But first, listen to me carefully, because what is happening to the press in this country right now is the most serious threat to a free media we have seen in our lifetimes. The FCC, chaired by Trump-appointed Brendan Carr, ordered Disney into emergency early renewal of all 8 ABC broadcast television station licenses last week, 6 years before those licenses were due. According to Senator Elizabeth Warren, direct quote sourced through NPR, the FCC has just pulled out a sword to hang over every single news organization in America. The corporate networks are bending. ABC settled a $15 million defamation suit with Trump. Paramount paid Trump $16 million in a CBS settlement that cleared the path for the Skydance merger. The institutional press is terrified. They are coming for the next layer down, the independent voices, the YouTubers, the Substack writers, the channels exactly like ours. They are openly proposing legislation that would limit what news organizations can say about the President of the United States. They want to demonetize independent voices on YouTube and Facebook and X. They want to channel the news monopoly back into the corporate parents the administration trusts to bend the knee. The reason I am asking you today to subscribe to America Facticity.
It's not a great thing to work for Donald Trump. I mean, it's really not a great job to have. And it's just completely, I mean, nobody can succeed in this negotiation because basically we totally inverted the Iranians' incentives not to do the things we've always wanted them not to do, which they didn't do because A, we'd bomb the hell out of them, and B, we put sanctions on them. Well, we did that anyway, even though they at one point had stopped enriching uranium, and even though they never went to attack the Strait. If they had attacked the Strait, we would have bombed the hell out of them, and that's why they didn't do it. But we did it anyway, so why should they not reopen the Strait? And now we're blockading a blockade. Which explain that to me. We're blockading a blockade. A few weeks ago, we were saying, oh, we need to let the Iranians sell oil so that it reduces pressure on the markets. And now we're saying, no, you can't sell that oil. And we're saying a few weeks ago, oh, we want to open the strait. Oh, we don't care whether the strait's being open. And now we're saying we're going to close the strait.
It's going to open up organically. Isn't that what he said? Naturally.
I mean, he said we didn't care about it. He said it was on NATO. The people who depend on that oil had to go open it.
And the worst thing about it is American credibility, not just in dealing with the Iranian regime, but to the entire world. I mean, basically, we show Trump is incompetent, he's capricious, he's completely erratic, and he's basically psychotic. He has no conception of morality. And now he's kind of bored with Iran, and he wants to move on and go see UFC fights, and the reporting is that essentially he's done with Iran.
Amend it. Remember my reporting from earlier this morning where I said, I think that's a reference to the United States right there. There were other Zelensky posts like that. So then before Donald Trump rushed out of the White House, he then posts the following message. I am pleased to announce that there will be a 3-day ceasefire, May 9th, 10th, and 11th, in the war between Russia and Ukraine. The celebration in Russia is for Victory Day, but likewise in Ukraine, because they were also a big part and factor of World War II. Pause there. Ukraine's not doing a Victory Day parade like the way Russia does it, so it's already a false statement. This ceasefire will include a suspension of all kinetic activity and also a prison swap of 1,000 prisoners from each country. This request was made directly by me, and I very much appreciate its agreement by Vladimir Putin and Zelensky. Hopefully, it is the beginning of the end of a very long, deadly, and hard-fought war. Talks are continuing on ending this major conflict. So Donald Trump, who got the call, it seems, from Putin, tried to present it as though this was my idea, although we've been reporting what's really been going on behind the scenes now for a number of...
To join our $9 membership is because that $9 a month is the only thing that keeps independent journalism like ours genuinely free. We have no corporate parent. We have no Disney. We have no advertisers we have to keep happy. We have no FCC license that the federal government can use as leverage. What we have is you. Just you, member by member, $9 at a time. So if you have $9 a month, please hit the membership button right now. Your $9 stands between us and the silence the Trump administration is trying to impose on every truth-telling voice in America. And if you cannot do $9 a month, please share this video with one person. One single share is the difference between this video reaching 10,000 people and this video reaching 100,000. Now let me bring you the full story. Let me start where George Conway started. According to multiple media archives and his own published bios, George T. Conway III, born September 2, 1963 in Boston, Massachusetts, is a Harvard Law School graduate, a former partner at the law firm Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen & Katz, and one of the most respected appellate litigators of his generation. He argued in front of the Supreme Court. He was for decades a card-carrying Federalist Society member. He worked on Paula Jones's civil case against Bill Clinton in 1997. Yes, he helped take down a Democratic president on procedural grounds. He was, by every measurable standard, a movement conservative. And he was married to Kellyanne Conway, who became Donald Trump's senior counselor and one of the most loyal Trump White House officials of the first term. But George Conway saw what nobody on his side of the political coalition was willing to see. According to his own multiple essays at The Atlantic, his Bulwark columns, and his MSNBC appearances, Conway began publicly warning about Trump's mental fitness as early as 2018, citing Trump's behavior, language patterns, and apparent cognitive decline. He co-founded the Lincoln Project in December 2019, the conservative anti-Trump super PAC that produced some of the most viral political ads of the 2020 cycle. He wrote columns calling for Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment. He testified about the legal implications of Trump's behavior. He repeatedly called Trump, direct quote that has been published in multiple Conway essays archived at The Atlantic, a malignant narcissist.
Okay? And he did not. And it just so happens that this man has business with the federal government that he doesn't want disturbed, and he has his own employees at his Blue Origin, or whatever the name of his meeting with Donald Trump the day this gets into the newspaper. Okay, he has zero credibility. Okay, he has zero credibility on this. And you see it, I mean, essentially what you were seeing. I mean, it is like Lenin's adage that the capitalists will sell us the rope with which they will hang him. The same is true of fascists. And Donald Trump is, definitionally a fascist.
days. As Philip O'Brien writes, the ceasefire story is fascinating. Turns out that Trump seems to have pleaded with Zelensky on Putin's behalf. The Ukrainians said they agreed on the condition that prisoners are returned, and the ceasefire covers only the parade area and doesn't extend outside of the parade area. So then Zelensky posted on the Ukraine social media account the following: decree of the president of Ukraine on holding a parade in the city of Moscow, taking into account numerous requests and for humanitarian purposes outlined during negotiations with the American side on May 8th, 2026, I hereby decree the following: to permit the holding of a parade in the city of Moscow, Russian Federation on May 9th, 2026. For the duration of the parade from 10 a.m. Kyiv time on May 9th, 2026, the designated area of Red Square shall be excluded from the operational plan for the use of Ukrainian weapons. Red Square coordinates, they list the coordinates you can see right here on this box. Those coordinates too. This decree shall enter into force on the day of its signing. Signed, President of Ukraine, Zelensky. As this other account says, amazing! Trump spent years bragging he'd end the war in 24 hours. So now he's proudly announcing a temporary ceasefire so Putin can safely hold a parade. Now he's doing that. Not peace, not victory, just political theater wrapped in desperation. And somehow he still expects applause. Then you have Katerina Lusanova writes, I thought it couldn't get any more humiliating for the Kremlin than this, but they somehow now reached a whole new level of embarrassment. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs just published a quote from Putin's aide.
By 2024, Conway had become, alongside Robert De Niro, alongside Mary Trump, alongside Stephen Colbert, one of the most recognizable American voices warning the country about Donald Trump's threat to the constitutional order. He hosted George Conway Explains It All with Sarah Longwell on the Bulwark Network. He appeared regularly on Midas Touch's Legal AF podcast. He went on every MSNBC show to break down Trump's federal indictments: the New York hush money trial, the federal classified documents case in Florida, the federal January 6 case in D.C., the Georgia state election interference case. According to Midas Touch's verified February 2024 episode of Legal AF, sourced through Apple Podcasts, Conway told Midas Touch host Karen Friedman Agnifilo that the federal cases against Trump represented an existential test of American constitutional law. And according to Associated Press correspondent Julie Walker, sourced through Player.fm's verified podcast aggregator coverage, George Conway is now taking steps to run for Congress. Direct from the AP coverage, George Conway, a critic of President Trump, takes steps to run for Congress. A conservative super lawyer, the husband of Trump's former senior counselor, considering a run for federal office to fight the Trump administration from inside Congress itself. Drop a comment below if this is hitting for you. One word: vindicated, brave, concerning, whatever you feel. Every single comment helps the algorithm push this video further. And remember, please hit subscribe, smash like, and join our $9 membership. Now stay with me, because what is happening to American late-night television in the next 2 weeks is exactly what George Conway has been warning about for 8 straight years. According to Variety's reporting from Wednesday, sourced through CBS's official Late Show announcement, Stephen Colbert's final episodes of The Late Show, leading up to the May 21st finale, will feature an unprecedented gathering of late-night hosts, comedy legends, and cultural giants. Direct quote sourced through Variety. Colbert will host David Letterman, Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, John Oliver, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Pedro Pascal, Tom Hanks, The Strokes, and Letterman himself.
Contemplating the fact that one moron, one psychotic moron, one capricious idiot has completely bollocksed up the global economy to the detriment of his own people, but the detriment of the planet. Think about that. Everything from these tariffs, which have to be done and undone, and we end up with the crucial things that we can't buy, and that the Chinese want to punish us for the heavy metals, and this. It's like, how much more of this can the planet take? How much more? And then, the Iranian the minister, or whatever it was, the Iranian minister's right. It's like, we're going to get to $6. If there's no oil coming out of there, including the Iranian oil, we're actually worse off than we were last week, which wasn't great. And we're still going to have the after effects of the supply disruptions are going to continue. Even if the Strait opens up next week, the supply disruptions are going to continue for a while through the summer.
Yushakov. By the way, Yushakov is buds with Witkoff and Kushner. They've been meeting all those times with Dmitriev, right? They did those meetings in Miami. Of course you found it acceptable, Lusanova writes. You were calling him nonstop, begging him to do something to save your parade. And we all know it wasn't even Trump's initiative. He couldn't care less about your parade while dealing with his own issues involving Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. It's literally the same script we saw with the 28-point peace plan, which was also labeled an American initiative. In other words, it was packaged by Putin, and America said, here was our plan. And that's what what Lusanova is alleging right now, that basically Putin gave his plan. Hey, Donald, you got to give this plan. Have Zelensky do our plan. Trump just packaged Russia's plan and said, this is my plan. Will you agree to it, Zelensky? Zelensky responds, I'm only going to agree in this small area, red square, that's it. And we want 1,000 prisoners exchange. And so Zelensky got what he wanted, as Donald Trump called Zelensky begging, apparently, for Putin to have his parade. Now, Zelensky wants a sustainable, durable ceasefire. And Zelensky earlier this week on May 5th said when this was an issue, because remember, this didn't come out of nowhere. We've been reporting on it for a long time on the Midas Touch Network, right? Zelensky says, okay, Putin, you want a May 9th to 11th ceasefire. Give us a May 6th, 7th, 8th. Prove to us that you're willing to do a more sustainable ceasefire. Putin's response was to then bomb Zaporizhzhia and other areas of Ukraine, killing a ton of Ukrainian civilians.
Letterman in particular has been a vocal critic of CBS's decision to cancel The Late Show. According to Variety's coverage of Letterman's recent New York Times interview with journalist Jason Zinnemann, direct quote sourced through Variety, Letterman called CBS lying weasels and said he was dumped because the people selling the network to Skydance said, oh no, there's not going to be any trouble with that guy. We're going to take care of the show. We're just going to throw that into the deal. When will the ink on the check dry? I'm just going to go on record as saying they're lying. Lying weasels. From David Letterman, about CBS, about Paramount, about the cancellation that he and George Conway and Jon Stewart and Jimmy Kimmel have been calling political censorship for 9 straight months. Then Stephen Colbert's response to Trump celebrating his cancellation. According to Yahoo Entertainment's reporting from earlier this year, Trump posted on Truth Social, direct quote sourced through Yahoo Entertainment, I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next. He has even less talent than Colbert. And Colbert's response upon his first show back was direct quote sourced through Yahoo Entertainment. How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go fuck yourself, from the host of The Late Show to the President of the United States on CBS in prime time, 12 days before his final broadcast. Let me bring you to what Jon Stewart said at Colbert's first post-cancellation show. According to Yahoo Entertainment's coverage and Time Magazine's reporting, Stewart, Colbert's longtime friend and former boss at The Daily Show, criticized Paramount for capitulating to Trump. Direct quote sourced through Yahoo Entertainment. If you're trying to figure out why Stephen's show is ending, I don't think the answer can be found in some smoking gun email or phone call from Trump to CBS executives or in CBS QuickBooks spreadsheets on the financial health of late night. I think the answer is in the fear and pre-compliance that is gripping all of America's institutions at this very moment. Institutions that have chosen not to fight the vengeful and vindictive actions of our pubic-hair doodling commander-in-chief. From Jon Stewart, about the President of the United States, on The Daily Show, in prime time, defending Stephen Colbert. I want to take a quick break here, because if you are still with me, you understand why this work matters. Subscribe to America Facticity if you have not. Hit the bell. Join our $9 membership.
We have to impeach and remove him, and it's not separate from all the issues that we need to address on an economic level for people here in this district and elsewhere, because we can't accomplish any of that until he's gone, until this criminal regime that acts only in his best interest instead of the interest of the people, that spends money on ICE instead of on health care. We have to get rid of him, and we're not going to survive 33 more months of what we've seen for the past 15. And so as I watch this, I really do think the conditions are there for a political democratic renaissance that involves the impeachment and removal of this criminal. Now, if there were a presidential election this year or next, that would do it too. And we would have a situation like we saw this weekend in Hungary, where it finally came, a Magyar won this election by going out to the countryside and explaining to the people how the criminality and the corruption was hurting them.
So Donald Trump back on the White House lawn. Let's get to this part right here where Trump is asked, so was it Putin that asked you, Donald? Like, it seems like Putin asked you to do this. Donald Trump's like, no, it was my idea. Okay, Donald, here, play this clip.
Was it Putin that asked for the ceasefire?
No, I asked, and President Putin agreed. President Zelensky agreed, both readily. And we have a little period of time where they're not going to be killing people. That's very good. And they also agreed to give 1,000 on each side, 1,000 prisoners back. So they're going to be transferring almost immediately 1,000 prisoners from each side. That's very good. Russia, Ukraine.
You plan to talk to them again to try to
get this? I will. I'd like to see a big extension.
Okay. Then Donald Trump, a reporter says, so we're almost 10 weeks since the United States missile hit Manab Elementary School and killed close to 200 little girls. A war crime. Who fired the missile, Donald? We know the answer. It was the U.S. It was a U.S. Tomahawk. Our military members, our military leadership has admitted it, but Donald Trump won't. He continues to lie. But what else do you expect from actual criminals, actual felons, actual predators, and war?
Now let me bring you what Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers have been doing in the last week, because both of them, on broadcast television on the same networks the FCC is threatening, are still telling the truth. Wednesday night, May 6. According to HuffPost's reporting, Jimmy Kimmel addressed Trump's Iran negotiation style. Direct quote sourced through HuffPost, I wonder which will open first, the Strait of Hormuz or his ballroom? Then, direct quote, but this is how he does it. For him, a negotiation, it's like sex. He's bad at it. It mostly consists of flailing around, and he can only do it for a short amount of time before he starts yelling that he's finished. Monday night, May 4th. According to TMZ and The Wrap, Kimmel called Trump, direct quote sourced through TMZ, Jabba the President, amid the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. Direct quote sourced through The Wrap, Kimmel told the audience, at 11:13 p.m. RT posted a thinly veiled but definitely racist note about House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, followed 2 minutes later with a warning to Iran that said, I have all the cards, and which shows him holding a bunch of cards, which is a game you win by having no cards. See what happens when you don't play with your children? Last week, Kimmel called Trump, direct quote sourced through HuffPost, Fat John Wick cosplaying at 4 in the morning. Direct quote, he looks like Rambo and Dumbo at the same time. Direct quote, he has the memory and skin color of a goldfish. Direct quote, why am I getting the same threats he's giving to Iran? Let me make something clear, I am not the Ayatollah. Direct quote, I get to keep my job, you get to end your 11th war. Seth Meyers on NBC has been doing his A Closer Look segment on the Trump administration's policy collapses several nights a week. According to Time magazine's coverage of Meyers' commentary on Kimmel's September 2025 suspension, direct quote sourced through Time, Meyers said, I wake up every day, I count my blessings that I live in a country that at least purports to value freedom of speech, and we're going to keep doing our show the way we've always done it, with enthusiasm and integrity. Trump posted on Truth Social demanding NBC fire Meyers. Direct quote sourced through Time. That leaves Jimmy and Seth two total losers on fake news NBC. Do it, NBC! Jimmy Fallon has been more careful. According to Time magazine, direct quote, Jimmy Fallon is playing it safe.
And I hate to say that, and it's something I never thought I would come to that conclusion, but you look at the pages of history, and there's no question. And what people are doing, what these corporations are doing is that they're putting, financial interests, momentary financial interests, above the interests of the public. Well, you buy a newspaper, you're providing a public service that may be for profit, but you have the right, you have an obligation to provide truthful information and to give truthful guidance to people. And if you cannot take that heat, you should not own the newspaper. You should sell that newspaper. It is absolutely an outrage. But this isn't the only thing that's happening. I mean, we see something else. There was an incident that didn't get a lot of press because we're in the middle of an intense election season, and we see what happened at the Post and at the LA Times.
Are criminals. Here, play this clip.
We're at a point almost 10 weeks after a missile hit a girls' school in Iran. Who fired that missile?
So that's under study right now, and we'll give you a report as soon as we have it.
Next up, Donald Trump says, but everything with Iran is coming out great. It's moving along pretty well. Play this clip.
No, I have no reaction to that. No, not at all. I think we're doing very well. Iran is seeming to be coming along very well. Militarily, very good. We'll see whether or not they can get there. Steve, go ahead.
On the hantavirus, Donald Trump's like, we hope it's okay. That's Donald Trump's response. We hope it's okay. Let's play it.
We have it. We have very good people looking at it. It seems to be okay. They know the virus very well. They've worked with it for a long time. They know it very well. Not easy to pass on. So we hope that's true.
And what about the U.S. removing itself from the World Health Organization? You want to reconsider that, Donald, now that the hantavirus is spreading? No, we hope it's going to be fine. You hope it's going to be fine? Here, play this clip.
Will your team travel to Moscow, Mr. President?
Consider leaving the World Health Organization because of the outbreak of hantavirus.
No, we seem to have things under very good control. They know that virus very well. It's been around a long time. Not easily transferable, unlike COVID. But we'll see. We're studying it very closely. We have very good people studying it very closely.
He might be cooked anyway. But even Fallon, on Kimmel's suspension, told the audience, direct quote sourced through Time, I don't know what's going on and no one does, but I do know Jimmy Kimmel, and he's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back. And Meryl Streep just last week, direct quote source through Variety, told Kimmel, you're a prince. You are a Knight Templar. You're carrying the banner of freedom of the press. We all depend on you, and the world is listening. I want to take one more break, because if you have made it this far, please subscribe to America Facticity, hit the bell, join our $9 membership. Stephen Colbert is gone in 12 days. Jimmy Kimmel is being threatened next. Independent journalism is the firewall. Now let me bring you the rest of what's happening this week. Today, Saturday, May 9th, 2026. According to CNN's live coverage, Trump expects Iran's response to the U.S. proposal tonight. Trump told reporters outside the White House, direct quote sourced through CNN, I'm getting a letter supposedly tonight, so we'll see how that goes. Today, the U.S. military fired on 2 Iranian-flagged oil tankers. Trump also announced today a 3-day Russia-Ukraine ceasefire tied to Victory Day commemorations marking the end of World War II in Europe. Direct quote sourced through Fox News Digital. I am pleased to announce that there will be a 3-day ceasefire May 9th, 10th, and 11th in the war between Russia and Ukraine. The ceasefire would include a suspension of all kinetic activity and a prisoner exchange involving 1,000 prisoners from each country. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said today, direct quote sourced through CNN, whatever the causes, the outcome is the same. Iranians never bow to pressure and diplomacy is always the victim. Araghchi also questioned the Washington Post report citing a U.S. official saying Iran retains 75% of its pre-war inventories of mobile launchers and 70% of its pre-war stockpiles of missiles. Direct quote sourced through Fox News, Araghchi said, our missile inventory and launcher capacity are not at 75% compared to Feb 28. The correct figure is 120%. As for our readiness to defend our people, 1,000%. According to PBS News, Iran has established a new government agency called the Persian Gulf Strait Authority.
Hurting them personally and economically, which is exactly what is happening in the United States. But we do not have an election until 2028, and we cannot I don't know if the world can survive the damage that this one psychopath has done to the world economy, what he's done to our democracy, what he's done in the last 15 months. So I think it's going to get somewhat worse before it gets better, but I think we are going to be able to rid ourselves of this evil man sooner rather than later. I think sometime in 2027, we will be done with him. That being said, it's going to be a tough year to a year and a half. And putting back together Humpty Dumpty that Donald Trump kicked off the wall, everything from the Justice Department to the economy and to our politics, our broken politics, the damage has been substantial, and it's going to take years to fully recover. But I think I think we're going to make it. But I think we're going to have a difficult year, and I think people have to be determined. They have to get out on the streets, and they basically have to exercise their civic duties and responsibilities to defend our democracy like never before, because this is the moment of truth.
Then Donald Trump randomly answers a question by a reporter that has nothing to do with this by saying, "I love South Korea." Okay, here, play it.
You said that South Korea was attacked by Iran, but Iran denied this. Do you share with
I love South Korea.
Then Donald Trump brags about the Virginia Supreme Court overturning the will of 3 million Virginians who supported a new mid-decade redistrict map, unlike the Republican states where they don't do referendums. And Donald Trump goes, "We won big in Virginia. We won big in Iraq." Okay, here, play it.
That's somebody that I very strongly endorse. He won by a lot, and I wasn't happy with the person who was there previously. So it was a great victory. We had a lot of great victories. We had a big victory today in Virginia, as you know, and we have a lot of victories, but the victory in Iraq was really great.
Then Donald Trump walked away like you saw at the beginning of the video. Let's show it to you. And I think it's important over here to remind you of this clip. Ken Klippenstein found it. So Barack Ravid, who's basically, in my opinion, been Trump's stenographer.
According to Lloyd's List Intelligence, direct quote sourced through PBS News, the authority is positioning itself as the only valid authority to grant permission to ships transiting the strait. Iran has effectively closed the strait. Lloyd said the authority emailed an application form for ships seeking passage. The disruptions have sent fuel prices skyrocketing. Average U.S. gas prices are at $4.54 a gallon, the highest in nearly 4 years. According to PBS News polling, direct quote, 6 in 10 Americans disapprove of how Trump is handling Iran. Saudi Arabia blocked the U.S. military from using Prince Sultan Air Base. According to a Saudi official quoted by AP through PBS News, direct quote, "We told them that we are not part of this and that they can't use our territories and bases for this." Saudi Arabia did not consult with Trump before he launched Project Freedom. Direct quote, "Trump did not consult with U.S. ally Saudi Arabia before launching the short-lived effort, the $1 billion ballroom appropriation." According to the Daily Beast, Roll Call, Notice, Bloomberg, IB Times UK, The Washington Examiner, Newsweek, and CNN, Senator Chuck Grassley released the Senate Judiciary Committee's reconciliation title late Monday night while Congress was on recess. The bill appropriates, direct quote from the bill text sourced through Roll Call, $1 billion to remain available until September 2029 for the purposes of security adjustments and upgrades, including within the perimeter fence of the White House compound to support enhancements by the United States Secret Service relating to the East Wing modernization project, including above-ground and below-ground security features. The Palm Beach Airport trademark grift. According to the Hanford Sentinel, Miami Herald, and CNN, Trump signed a trademark deal Sunday, allowing Palm Beach International Airport to be renamed after him, effective July 1, 2026. The trademark, held by Trump's private company DTTM Operations LLC, gives Trump's companies a non-exclusive license, meaning they can sell airport-branded merchandise off-site for profit. The SPLC indictment whistleblower story. According to MS Now's exclusive reporting and CNN, career federal prosecutors blew the whistle to the House Judiciary Committee that Associate Deputy Attorney General Akash Singh ordered them to rush through the indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center, despite serious concerns about the strength of the case. The Trump Justice Department is being weaponized against political dissent. And on Tuesday night, May 5th, on the same network whose parent paid Trump $16 million in a settlement, Stephen Colbert hosted Barack Obama in the former president's first televised interview from the new Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. Obama was the only guest, 2 days after Obama's New Yorker interview was published, in which Obama said, direct quote sourced through World Israel News,
If we can't exercise the duty and power that Congress has been given by the framers to remove the most corrupt administration in American history, the most vile administration, the president who has most violated his oath and violated the law, then we don't have a constitution. And, just because it hasn't worked in the past also doesn't mean it's not going to work now, because we are starting to see cracks. Even Republicans have had enough. And it may well be that it's something like gas prices that drive Republicans to say basta, but so be it. We can't give up on this. We can't last, to my mind, 34 more months of what we've had happen over the last 14. He's only going to get worse. And the fact that he basically started a war that could tank the global economy without any end in sight and without any plan, and without an exit strategy is just, that's he's going to do something else next to distract the last thing he created. And we can't survive this. I don't think.
Prefer regurgitating all of Donald Trump's stuff, which I believe then manipulates the market. Now, Ravid says, I'm not doing that. Okay, Ravid. But there was a moment where Zelensky, a while back, knew exactly. This is February 15th of 2025. Remember, February 15th, 2025, Zelensky knew exactly what Barack Ravid was up to all the way back in February of 2025. Watch this.
Can you clarify if that's taking place?
Yeah, thank you so much. I never saw your face. I always heard about Axios, that you always, after my phone calls with some leaders, you know what's going on. What was during my phone calls? No, I know it. Really. The information, where you have your information, where you get this information? Huh?
They works at the NSA.
Yeah, nice.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what
Maybe Netanyahu got what he wanted, but I doubt whether that's what's good for the citizens of Israel or the United States. Marjorie Taylor Greene declared MAGA dead at the Ron Paul Institute on April 25th. Robert De Niro on May 1st led a nationwide economic blackout against fascism. Whoopi Goldberg told the country, direct quote sourced through Newsbusters, "It's not your building." Bill Maher on HBO declared the Iran war lost. Direct quote sourced through HuffPost, "Hormuz is not open. The people did not do an uprising. The regime is still in place. We did not win." Wab Kinew from Manitoba accused Trump of suppressing the Epstein files. Mary Trump on every podcast describing her uncle's apparent dementia signs. Howard Stern on SiriusXM telling 20 million daily listeners that Trump despises his own MAGA voters. Rosie O'Donnell from Dublin telling the Trump administration she is everything you hate about what's still right with America. Arnold Schwarzenegger has been calling Trump a failed leader and the worst president ever since January 2021. Listen. The lesson of this entire moment, George Conway considering a run for Congress, Letterman calling CBS lying weasels, Stephen Colbert hosting Letterman, Kimmel, Myers, Fallon, John Oliver, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Pedro Pascal, and Tom Hanks in his final 2 weeks, Jon Stewart calling Trump a pubic hair-doodling commander-in-chief, the U.S. strikes on Keshem and Bandar Abbas, Trump calling military strikes love taps, Trump threatening one big glow coming out of Iran, 6 in 10 Americans disapproving of Iran handling Iran's new Persian Gulf Strait Authority, Saudi Arabia blocking Prince Sultan Air Base, the Russia-Ukraine 3-day ceasefire announcement today, the $1 billion ballroom appropriation, the Palm Beach Airport trademark grift, the SPLC indictment whistleblower story, the cancellation of The Late Show, the FCC license challenge to Disney, Kimmel calling Trump Jabba the President and saying his negotiation style is like sex, Marjorie Taylor Greene declaring MAGA dead, Mary Trump on every podcast describing her uncle's apparent dementia signs, is the same lesson we keep learning. Authoritarian power is built on the assumption that everyone will self-censor, that the celebrities will go quiet, that the senators will stay loyal, that the comedians will stop making jokes to keep their networks safe, that the corporate parents will make business decisions that look like financial necessity but feel a lot like political surrender, that conservative super lawyers will keep their criticism behind closed doors. And one by one, every single one of those assumptions is being broken in 2026. George Conway refuses to bend. Co-founding the Lincoln Project, hosting his podcast, going on every Midas Touch episode.
I was asked by a friend of mine who raises money for Democrats to speak at a big Democratic fundraiser for what was then the Biden Victory Fund. And I remember I was actually driving out to my friend John Gardner's house out in Maryland. And I was thinking about, well, how much money should I give to the Biden campaign for this thing where I'm going to be the headline spokesperson and asking other people to give, and I thought I'd give a lot of money, but a reasonable amount of money. And then I started thinking about it, and it's like, this is supposed to, it's money that my kids would otherwise inherit. And I started thinking about that. So what am I going to give? And then I just thought about it. Well, what do I want my kids to inherit? And I literally was in tears. I pulled over to the side of the road and I was in tears thinking about this. And it's like, I want my kids, it makes me misty-eyed even today. I want my kids to inherit a democracy. It's more important than money, and that decided, well, fuck that. I'm gonna give the legal maximum, which was like $929,600, and it's just more important. It's just more important, and that's why I did that, and that's why I'm 62 years old. I should be out in Park City skiing or something like that, and I should be really, really retired. But I could never live myself if I didn't do everything I could to help get rid of this. What?
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure that's one reason you decided to run for Congress.
It's the reason, actually. The reason.
Thanks for making me cry too, George, by the way.
Sorry.
No,
there's something in my eyes. Just something in my eyes.
Mine too.
Donald Trump is quite literally losing it on the White House lawn right now as Iran issues another warning. An Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps radio transmission warned all nearby vessels in the Strait of Hormuz maintain a 10-mile buffer from U.S. warships because, quote, we need to teach the Yankees a lesson. We will fire missiles and we will send our drones if you are close to these American ships. Quote, we need to teach the Yankees a lesson. Iran's Parliament National Security Commission chairman separately said, we are not ever going to leave the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is more valuable to us than having a nuclear weapon. Mohammed Makbar, an advisor to Iran's supreme leader, said on Friday that Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz is an asset on the scale of an atomic bomb, adding that Tehran would not give up the capability that it earned by winning the war. And we're now seeing more video footage of Iran's retaliation against the United Arab Emirates that's coming in, that's being suppressed by American media as well as Middle East media. So take a look right here, what it looks like in the Dubai airport area after Iran responded to U.S. strikes on Qasem Port and Donald Trump's Project Freedom. You can see right there in the distance from the Dubai airport, the smoke plumes that are rising. Iran's also releasing additional video footage right now of the missile strikes from last night. I'll show you these missile strikes right here. Let's play it.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
And these are more missile strikes that have been, video of the missile strikes that have been released from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Here, play this clip.
Now considering a run for Congress to fight the Trump administration from inside the legislative branch itself. Stephen Colbert refuses to bend in his final 12 days, hosting an unprecedented late-night summit, calling Paramount's $16 million settlement a big fat bribe. David Letterman refuses to bend, calling CBS lying weasels in the New York Times. Jon Stewart refuses to bend, calling Trump our pubic hair doodling commander-in-chief on The Daily Show. Jimmy Kimmel refuses to bend even with the FCC reviewing Disney's broadcast licenses, calling Trump Jabba the President, saying Trump's negotiation style is like sex. Seth Meyers refuses to bend, continuing his A Closer Look segments on NBC. Robert De Niro refuses to bend at age 82. Marjorie Taylor Greene refuses to bend, declaring MAGA dead. Mary Trump refuses to bend. Bill Maher refuses to bend. Wab Kinew refuses to bend. Pope Leo refuses to bend. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk refuses to bend. French President Macron refuses to bend. Rosie O'Donnell refuses to bend from Dublin. Howard Stern refuses to bend. Meryl Streep refuses to bend at age 76. Arnold Schwarzenegger refuses to bend at age 78. Saudi Arabia refused to let the U.S. use Prince Sultan Air Base. Iran refused to negotiate on Trump's terms. And we, every single independent journalist, every channel that does not bend to corporate pressure, every voice that tells the truth without an FCC license to lose, we refuse to bend. That is the work. That is the resistance. That is what an actually free press looks like when the pressure is on. The corporate networks are bending. They settled. They canceled Colbert. They tried to fire Kimmel. They are facing FCC license reviews. The Justice Department is weaponizing federal prosecution. The institutional press is terrified, but independent journalism, funded by you, accountable only to you, working only for the truth, is the firewall. We are louder than we have ever been. We are more accurate than we have ever been. We are more multi-sourced than we have ever been.
And now at USA Today, that there was a professor of history that I know, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, a very prominent scholar of authoritarianism at NYU, was scheduled to give a lecture at the Naval Academy. And some MAGA Republican House members and the Heritage Foundation objected. The speech was going to be about how authoritarians co-opt the military, which is something I think potential officers of the United States Navy should really understand, because I think it's important that military officers understand history and particularly international history. And the speech was postponed in light of those objections. I mean, what we are seeing is chilling. And the fact that we are seeing it now in anticipation of a possible, but I don't think it's going to happen, victory by Donald Trump should scare the living daylights out of anybody who believes in free speech and democracy.
Coming up on 9 a.m. Eastern News.
Also, a source very close to the parliament leader, MB Ghalibaf, is posting the following strategic assessment. And I'm going to show you Trump's response in just a moment. So this, basically a spokesperson for Ghalibaf says, strategic assessment. The U.S. Army failed last night for the second time in opening the Strait of Hormuz by military means. The U.S. will continue this approach until early June. And during this period, tensions will steadily escalate. The Strait of Hormuz has now become the measure of defeat and victory in the war. Pause right there, which is interesting because before the war started, before Trump and Netanyahu's catastrophic invasion of Iran, the Strait of Hormuz was open. So now the only metric of is this war successful? Can we get to the status quo before the invasion of Iran? Also, this spokesperson for MB Ghalibaf says, contrary to media assessments and statements by American officials in last night's attack, the first shot and operational initiative were in Iran's hands and the United States was merely in the position of reacting. The alert level for military conflict has indeed been raised. So let me take you to the White House lawn. This is what it looks like. I'm not showing you Mar-a-Lago right now. I'm showing you the White House lawn. This is what Donald Trump has done to the White House. And apparently he invited, families of people who died in wars. And Donald Trump starts to tell them, we stop transgender mutilization. With all of this going on, Trump holds a press conference. Just look what the White House looks like. Look how gaudy and gross it looks. And Trump says, we've saved your children from having their genitals cut off. This is Donald Trump's message right now to the families of military members who died in combat. Play this clip.
We stopped transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. We don't have that. But I want to thank every single mother here this afternoon and all across our nation for your work every single day. America's moms are really raising the future of our country.
Then Donald Trump says to one of the mothers who lost a child in war, I heard from a list that I received that he was good, that your son was good. They give me these lists and they tell me your son was outstanding, and I read the lists. Here, play this clip.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Hi, you look great. That's a beautiful hat. Thank you, Janice. Who lost her son, Marine Captain Jesse Melton. And I heard he was an outstanding. They give me lists and they tell me about people. You know, they said that Jesse was outstanding, Janice. They have the word outstanding.
And the only reason we are still here doing this every single day is because of you. Stephen Colbert is gone on May 21st. That is 12 days from today. The next voice on the chopping block is Jimmy Kimmel. The FCC is right now reviewing Disney's broadcast licenses. The Trump White House is publicly demanding ABC fire him. The Senate Judiciary Republicans just slipped $1 billion in ballroom security money into a reconciliation bill. The Trump Organization is grifting on a public airport in Florida. The Justice Department is rushing politically motivated indictments. Iran's military is launching coordinated attacks on U.S. Navy destroyers, and the president is calling military strikes love taps. Trump is threatening one big glow coming out of Iran. But George Conway, the conservative super lawyer who watched his own wife serve in the Trump White House, who has been telling the country since 2018 that Trump is unfit for office, who co-founded the Lincoln Project, who hosts George Conway Explains It All, with Sarah Longwell, who appears on every Midas Touch episode. George Conway is now considering a run for Congress to fight the Trump administration from the inside, to use his federal seat to defend the Constitution, to bring the legal expertise that took on Trump's federal indictments to the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Independent journalism, funded by you, accountable only to you, is the only firewall, and every single $9 membership.
Then Donald Trump talks about the black granite that he's now installed in the White House patio area, where he's ripped up the prior flooring and he put black granite. This is what he wants everybody to know. Here, play this clip.
Everything. And right up here, you probably noticed the new black granite. And it's been so well received, people can't even believe it, because the stones were all broken and really in bad disrepair. And it's really become great. And we added the pictures of the presidents, from George Washington to a guy named Trump.
Now, while the tensions in this war are clearly escalating, while there appears to be a war going on, but you know, war is peace, peace is war, just like 1984. This information's being suppressed here in order to manipulate the markets. Actually, in Florida, in Doral, where Trump has a golf club, Donald Trump convened religious leaders to bless his golden statue. He received a 15-foot golden statue of himself in his Doral, Miami club, and he held an opening ceremony to his statue and had religious leaders start delivering blessings to the statue. For example, Pastor Mark Barnes said, had the honor of leading Donald Trump's statue dedication event today at Trump Doral, Miami. Mission accomplished, Mr. President. The mission being accomplished is not winning the war in Iran or helping people get health care or helping people afford things. Mission accomplished is a 15-foot golden statue of Donald Trump in his golf course. And now these MAGA religious leaders, who are not, in my opinion, religious leaders at all, but I'm sharing with you my opinion. They bless They do blessings, and they have Donald Trump call in as they bless the statue. Play this clip.
I want to make sure everyone can hear. Okay, sir.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank you so much for being there today, and more importantly, for what you did. The statue is beautiful. You know, I saw it during the weekend. We had a big PGA tournament with a great champion, and all great champions, actually, but it was a great tournament, and I got to look at it very closely, and it's incredible. And I just want to thank you. I know it was done from love, and I want to thank Mark Burns, a pastor. He's a good pastor. He's a good man. I've known him a long time. He's been with me from the beginning, right from the beginning. Maybe about 2 days later, right? 2 days. But
right, Mr. President.
he was right at the beginning, and I appreciate.
Was it Conway on Midas Touch's legal AF? Was it Conway taking steps to run for Congress? Was it Letterman calling CBS lying weasels? Was it Stephen Colbert hosting Letterman, Kimmel, Myers, Fallon, John Oliver, Tom Hanks, and Pedro Pascal in his final 2 weeks? Was it Jon Stewart calling Trump our pubic hair doodling commander-in-chief? Was it Trump calling Iran strikes love taps? Was it Iran establishing the Persian Gulf Strait Authority? Was it Saudi Arabia blocking Prince Sultan Air Base? Was it the $1 billion ballroom? Was it the Russia-Ukraine 3-day ceasefire announcement today? Was it Kimmel calling Trump Jabba the President? Tell me. I read every single comment. And every comment helps this video reach more people who deserve to know what is really happening to this country in May 2026. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of America Facticity. Thank you for paying attention when paying attention is so much harder than looking away. Thank you for funding the journalism that the corporate networks will not fund. Thank you for being the reason independent voices like ours can keep speaking the truth. Stay safe, stay informed, stay vigilant. I will see you in